next week. If class repeatedly goes over by 30 minutes or even an hour, how can we tell our professors that we have a schedule that should be respected? And I'll ask Professor Clark to answer this question.
Well, I always give it back. So I'm going to stop early, I'm going to go over. So that way it kind of breaks even. It's a wash, I think. Hey, you know, we're supposed to be professional too, you know, up here. So it's an aspect of you've got your classes and you've got your schedules you have to meet. So if this is consistently going over, then I think you're entitled to, on a side, not in front of everyone, say, hey, you know, just, we all have, a lot of us have planned, you know, schedules that we have to meet on this. And just a general reminder from that aspect, humor also works very well, you know, putting it in a humorous setting from that aspect. And then, you know, from that piece, the next aspect is what we always say, everybody's got a boss at some point in time. If they're not respecting that, your schedule, because we have to respect you too. And from that aspect, thinking, okay, and if I say, Professor, I have class right after, I've got to run to that, I could see where the professor say, be my, you know, get up, be my guest and go. And now you're going to miss the half hour that I'm still rambling on because I'm a long-winded SOB. So, yeah, and so from that aspect, knowing who it might be, you're right, you may not have an option there. You may have to go to the boss's boss, the professor's boss, and say, here's a problem. We have schedules here. This class follows this. There's 5 of us in here that have different classes we need to go to. You know, allocate the time properly. Again, I mean, personal aspect, you know, you're busy. I know you're busy. I plan what my subject block's going to be, and be it whether I'm done in an hour or whether I'm done in my time, allotted time for that, and then the class is done. So I respect you've got to do what you have to do.
So this is along the line of this key point that we have here in the parentheses, which is, what is the best way to confront a professor without angering them? So are there some other thoughts along that line?
Well, I mean, this goes, you've got a couple things going down here, too, in terms of, you know, how do you talk to them when, you know, confronting a professor later on in here when you've got an issue with them. Hey, I'm dealing with judges all day long, okay? So if you want to sit there, they've got black robe disease, and that's the dye from the black robe gets in their spinal cord and brings them up here and makes them think they're God. And so basically, I mean, so what do? We cite to other cases. We don't sit there and say, I'm saying, and so when you're discussing issues also with your professors, it's, you know, well, I thought researcher so-and-so said, and then the professor will come back with a, well, she's an ass, or he's an idiot, you know, and then you're like, okay, and I tried my point in terms of confronting from that aspect. So you've got to read people, you got to know what works best with them, you got to know if they have a good sense of humor or not, if so from that aspect. So there's things like that aspect, you know, that can come up from it in terms of determining just how you're going to communicate with people. Some people, you can use humor. Some people, you're going to have to go to their boss's boss to get that point across.
There's about 1,000 plus. I mean, there's a lot of professors. To say what is the best way to confront a professor without, this is a loaded question because there is no answer to this. One thing that was said at the very beginning of this, that if this is the case, and I want to address your point because her point is quite germane here, which if you feel that somehow there's going to be it intended or implicit, I don't want to say retaliation, that's a bit too hard, but kind of blacklisting your own mind or thinking poorly of the student for standing up for themselves, talk to classmates, talk to other students. I mean, if this is a faculty member, is this something they always do? One of the things that I sometimes do, and I'm giving away my hand in front of my current students, is I will go a few minutes long on the days when some students are a few minutes late. Because it's like, when you get your, I know it's only me and it's 14 of them, but when all of you are here on time, I finish on time. When some of you are strolling in 3 or 4 minutes late, how coincidental. And so it's one of those kinds of, but if you're worried that there might be some concerns, really talk to other students, because is this a problem, has this been going on? And it's also the person, you know, like was said, if they're, if it's consistently 30 minutes late, that sounds almost like a GPD or a cherish.
But you also, you know, you should know that going in, because don't you guys search your professors going in? What is it, the website, badcollegeprofessors.com or something like that? I mean, come on, do your research too, from that aspect. Again, not justifying it, but a lot of the issues that are in here, do your work. It's out. The information's out there. Hell, use it. Find it.
And I wanted to say, just so that everyone knows, Dr. DeLuty is the grievance person. He's the Associate Dean of the Graduate School, and he does take care of grievances, and he has done so, especially when there are groups of students that come together after they have exhausted some of their other resources. And sometimes the graduate program director has even directed them to then go to Dr. DeLuty, who can act as an intermediary.
This is a loaded question, but I can give you 2 hints on ways to approach faculty. And it's sort of the way I approach anybody in life. Be polite, be professional or direct. Don't try to lay blame anywhere, and do your part of the bargain. If you're coming to class every day, if you're turning in assignments, if you're a conscientious student, then the faculty member is more likely going to listen to you than a student who comes in chronically 10 minutes late, never turns in an assignment, and doesn't pay much attention in the class. So you're all the first category. But if you approach, I believe if you approach most professors in a reasonable manner, they will in turn behave reasonably as well. Not everybody, but that's at least a first step. But yeah, you can slip a note under the door. Why not?
You could even spin it in a positive light. I don't mean to question, but I'm struggling because I have a class that's right after this, and it's 15 minutes away, and I'm trying to prioritize. Is there an optimal time? Would it be better if I sat near the door? Is there time? No, I mean, and you're not saying. I mean, but again, it's so much about who the person is. I mean, my students would just hit me. And I'd be like, sweet, okay, I know. But that's a style. I want to be the professor that they know they can trust. But I understand, and so it's really, like he was saying, it's a case by case. You're going to have to judge the person to a certain degree. Okay. And asking students further along in the program if it's applicable can be helpful.